welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch, host of Paradigms. Thanks for tuning in. My guests this week, three musicians who've come together to create really beautiful music with strong intentions, and they have some wonderful visions for sharing this music with the world. They're going to tell us about how they came together, and we get to hear what happens when they play together. All right, let's meet my guests right now on this episode of Paradigms. Samite, Sean Harkness, and Shem Guibbory, welcome to Paradigms.
All right. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
It's a beautiful day down here in New York City. How about up there in Ithaca? Or actually, you're in Tully now, Samite. How is it up there?
It's freezing.
Freezing?
Well, it's
Really?
very cold, and we're supposed to get a really bad storm.
Wow, okay.
It's starting tomorrow or Wednesday.
Have you battened down all the hatches?
I have. Most of it, yes.
And Shem, you're only a little bit north of me. How is it up there?
Croton-on-Hudson, partly cloudy, sunny skies, about 50 degrees. Very nice.
That's
You
motorcycle
always
riding.
come down and warm up if you want.
And where in the world are you, Baruch?
I'm in Jamaica, where it is sunny and 84.
So that's not Jamaica, Queens.
Definitely not. No, in the West Indies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm really happy to have all three of you together to talk about KUMARA, to talk about the project and the music and the evolution of it. And I guess I want to ask you, from each of your perspectives, what is KUMARA?
Wow.
That's a great question. Sean, why don't you start? Because I remember what you said once.
I don't. But, well, the title that we thought of at length is KUMARA. Ku is higher self, Ma, the divine mother, creative, Ra, the divine father, all together in one thing. It's an ancient Sanskrit word, and it just seemed to fit. Conceptually, what we do is, how do I say that all in one sentence? In honoring the name, we find aspects of music that reflect our higher selves and find our biggest receptivity to whatever the other person is bringing, all in an effort to share the best thing that we can possibly find in any given moment with whoever's listening. We find ways of doing this. There's a lot of improvisation, and then we scramble to try to remember what we did, so that even when we repeat it, it's still largely improvised, just with some sort of a structure. We know we want to go there. We know we kind of want to do that. But they're not, we're not drawing on the Great American Songbook or the classical repertoire or, covering popular songs or anything like that. We're creating something fresh and new every time we get together. How am I doing so far? Would you guys agree with that?
I totally agree with that.
And please add to it.
I think the only thing I could add to it, I think we focus on that space that is love. When we make music, we positive love. We reach for that. I think that's when we get together, even just the three of us, we're without an audience, we get to that place where we feel so good, and we go to that place all the time. And I think that's what KUMARA is. And that's what people, when they heard us, they go like, I needed to go there. I needed to feel that. And it's because that's what we go for. Yeah.
So, Baruch, I think that amplifying, taking what Sean said and what Samite said, KUMARA is a gift to us. Because from the very first note we played together, and we weren't planning anything, right? Just like, you get the gear set and play, there was a sense of, whoa, some connectivity at a very deep level. And that seems to happen. It started happening consistently through the day, the next 2-day rehearsal set, the 2 days of recording, then subsequent 2 days of recording. It just was there. It is that place, I think, like Samite said, of capital L, love. It is something that we feel we can contribute to the world to balance out an overly fearful, overly aggressive world, which has lost touch with grace. At least in the externals, it seems that way. There are obviously many people other than what we see in the aggressive world.
Yeah, I agree. It seems that we're surrounded by overtly divisive agendas, whether it's just as simple as, selling fashion products on television commercials, or politics, or anything, to divide and conquer, to get people arguing about things, seems to be a really common sales technique. And rather than being so exclusive, we want to be inclusive. We want to create something that's the opposite of that. Something that just brings everybody in and everybody instantly feels comfortable. Oh, yeah, thank you. God, so it's just every note is medicine, That's the agenda.
I'm talking with Sean Harkness, Samite Mulondo, and Shem Guibbory, KUMARA. Just hearing why they chose that name tells us a lot about who they are and what this music is about. We'll be back with more conversation, but first we're going to hear some of the music from the new record KUMARA. This is the first track. It's called River Crossing. You're listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life. from their new record, KUMARA. Sean Harkness, Samite Mulondo, Shem Guibbory, and we just heard River Crossing, which is the first track on the album. Now let's get back to my conversation with Shem, Samite, and Sean, and hear some more about their process and their intentions. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And I'll share with you, Sean. I shared with Samite and Shem that I was listening to the music this morning as I'm in a space with my uncle who is in Arizona dying right now. And so this music was me spending time with him from a distance.
Wow. Oh my.
Sending that. And so
Yeah.
that's how my day started. And that's what your music has so far meant to me, because that's my first listen was for this. I love what you all said. This is what the world needs. This is the love, the medicine, the depth that the world needs right now. And so just appreciating that that's where you all are coming from. How did you three come together to do this? And what are a little bit your musical backgrounds that converged here?
That's the interesting part of the story, isn't it? Shem, whose turn is it to tell the story?
All right. So I met Sean. We worked together on a show that I was one of the three authors of a show, music theater show. And that was back in like 2006, 2007. And this guy could play any style. He's a master of styles, right? Sean, master of musical styles. Any style you ask him to play, it sounds like home, right? And then we became friends, and then he invited me to do some stuff at some clubs in New York, and I wasn't quite ready to do that musically at that time for the freeform, the improvisation aspect, although it's in my background. And then right before the pandemic, we got together, and I said, if you're up for it, I'm ready. And he thought of, well, Samite. And then, Samite, I'll pitch it to you.
Sean contacted me and said, I want to introduce you to an amazing musician, an amazing person, and a guy with a lot of big dreams, great, and connections. And it's a good thing for us to get into. And I was a little hesitant at first. I was thinking like classical violin. I've always dreamt of playing with an orchestra, but I had never really thought of just a single violin, a classical musician. And Sean and we have history. We'd already played together. We were both under Windham Hill, which is a record label. You know about it?
Yeah. Yes, wonderful, wonderful label.
Yeah, we were both signed on Windham Hill as well. And we've toured together a few times. But so it was during COVID or soon after COVID. And they came over to the farm here. And we immediately, Shem and I became friends. He was talking the same language. He was into martial arts and stuff. We became friends right away. He was showing me morning, movements he was doing to connect. I was like, I like this guy. Oh, you came over actually before. You came and visited us.
Yes, we had tea outside because it was still deep COVID. You had that nice little thing with mosquito netting.
Yes, outside, yes. So anyway, when we got together to try out the musical part of it, I had no idea what was going to happen. Once we opened up and started playing, we immediately were like, oh my goodness, do you guys feel what I'm feeling? It was so beautiful that we got very excited. But I just remember we were sitting outside at night after that beautiful day. And I asked everybody, guys, tell me how you felt when we couldn't play any music at all. Sean's response was just he burst out in tears. He didn't even talk. He just started crying. And it explained exactly how this is so important, how this healing is so important for us. And we had no question after that this has to happen. We need to think about recording and getting other people to hear what we just experienced.
What an incredibly beautiful coming together story. And now we get to hear it, which is really something. I mean, talk about manifesting, right?
One thing you should know, though, is you asked about the musical style. So I have a classical background. I've played at the Metropolitan Opera for decades, but that's always been, and I say this with the utmost gratitude and respect, it's been my day job. I was the original violinist with Steve Reich and musicians. I played in Anthony Davis's group, improvising group, Episteme, in the 1980s. And oddly enough, the work, the season, this is my first season where I've left the opera, was the first season where Anthony's opera on the life and times of Malcolm X was produced at the Met. So I left, he came in, but I was part of that piece in its very beginning. And it set me on a deeper path of understanding, what does it mean to be a human being? What does that mean? That I mean, I thought I knew, but it's only now, years of looking into that issue of what is racism, what is prejudice, all this stuff, that I got to a point where now I feel like I get it. And that's what one of the things I can bring to the music. And I think Sean and Samite have had their own trajectory, but for me, that's a biggie.
Well, that brings me to my next question, really, which is, how do your personal, ethical, spiritual, moral life journeys, how are they going? And how do they show up in your music? How does that inspire or drive? I mean, Shem, that opera sounds amazing about Malcolm X. And, I mean, and what you bring to it of yourself and how you took it as an opportunity to deepen your own personal human learning. Like, tell me more about that part of your lives.
Well, I guess for me, your question just went from very kind of personal to very specific. So to address the first part of it, how does my worldview, personal agenda, humanity inform my approach to the music? For me, it's of course I picture Samite and Shem. So, all right, I'll back up a little bit. When we get together to explore music, either develop pieces, new pieces, or go over what we've got so far and rehearse for a show or a recording or something. Ever since the first time, and we always do this, each person brings something to the table: a groove, a chord progression, a motif, and some kind of a musical nugget that is defined enough to be the nugget, but open enough that we can pass it around and share it and let everybody explore it. And here in New York City, I work on so many projects. It's dizzying. I have to intentionally kind of not think, hey, where are you going to be next Friday? I have to look at the book. I intentionally don't know, because I've got 5 projects between now and Friday. And I've got to think about each one and give it my best while I'm thinking about it. And it's dizzying. So when I put time and focus into creating something for this project, all I have to do is picture Samite and I picture Shem, and I just let the music go to that place that I feel when I picture them. It's really that simple. I'm not necessarily as focused on, articulately anyway, or intentionally, on, what's going on out there in the world or in the news, or, I'm not intentionally trying to create world peace and on the Gaza Strip or address racism in America or anything like that. I'm just making a piece of music that I think Shem and Samite can bring life to, and it'll be a beautiful experience. Do you know what I mean? Mm. So that's where I'm coming from when I'm doing this stuff.
It was really great talking with these guys. Just wonderful, fun energy, but also with a lot of depth. Let's hear another track from KUMARA, and then we'll be back with more conversation. This is called Waxed Kalimba. Isn't that beautiful? This is music you can really just meditate with, commune with, travel in your astral body if you believe in that. It's really music for the spirit. All right, here's the next part of my conversation with Shem, Samite, and Sean. KUMARA.
Every morning when I wake up or anything I do, I ask myself what I stand for, which is it's a question I ask myself all the time, which is love, peace, and respect for all and myself, or myself and all. And I think that's something that drives me in everything I do. Even when I start cooking for you guys, when you're coming, I get very excited when you guys
That's why it tastes so good.
And it tastes good.
I get excited when you're coming and I go, what am I doing? So this time it's love. And when you sit there, especially you, Sean, Sean, when you take a bite, it's like I go, this is what I stand for. This is love right now. Really, that's how I feel when I bring this dish on the table and you go crazy over the hot sauce I just made.
Oh.
And I go, and that's for me, love. When I first wake up, before I sing to the birds in the morning, when I get out in the house, and it's love, it's respect. It's that's what drives me.
So you can see then, Baruch, when Shem and I got together just pre-COVID and started talking about this concept, this idea that Shem had for developing a project, and more I was just like, oh boy, you got to meet Samite. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So Baruch, let us pitch back to you another layer of that, and to your radio audience, to your podcast audience. We envision 3-5 years down the line, like imagine a world tour by a group of musicians, that would be us, who are playing in well-recognized, for the most part, places around the planet. Many of them maybe perhaps part of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but places that have over millennia been sacred places for many peoples and different cultures. And through the gift we have of bringing in capital L love, divine mother energy, right brain creative energy, any of the terms that people are comfortable with, they all describe aspects of a whole, right? Bringing that in and accelerating that from the energy of those locations and the audience that we have there, and then a transmission, all of a sudden you can accelerate the manifestation of that healing power of love, healing power of music, healing power of divine feminine energy, yin energy of the universe, whatever terms, we could bring that in. Now, to go from our debut album and our wonderful interview with you requires lots of support, lots of communities who say, I know a place where you can play to get there. I know that, people, the resources of the community. We three can't do it. We can do this part, which is the magic part, and that's our gift. But we need our community help. So anybody has that type of support to get us for that big picture, whether it's a significant event in their home, which can produce some of the resources to go there.
Right.
Right.
It really does take a village.
Right. It's not just about us getting a gig. It's about, we have this vision. If you listen to the music and feel it in whatever way is yours, let us know.
There are places around the planet that are sacred spots that are not necessarily famous, but I don't know if you're aware of something called ley lines. There are so there are these earthing points. They're like the acupuncture points for the planet.
It's a
right?
prevailing theory. We are aware of it. We just don't want to lead with that because there are also a lot of naysayers and detractors to that whole thing. It's more about the event and the music than, but certainly, absolutely, yeah.
We have a friend who equated those ley lines as the acupuncture points and the acupuncture meridians of the earth that are in a way
Exactly.
metaphorical to the acupuncture meridians and points on our human body.
Absolutely. Well, and more than metaphorical. So I've been involved in healing work for most of my adult life. I'm a psychotherapist, but I used to do a lot of body work and a lot of hands-on healing work, and I've had some amazing experiences with that. And working with ley lines and working with standing stones and all that stuff accentuates the human's innate ability to facilitate healing. So what you're talking about is doing that with the music and having those important places on the planet amplify the healing and the love in the music. I just think this is brilliant. Isn't really the right word. It's very beautiful. It's also very powerful.
We'll go everywhere, whether it's Stonehenge, Machu Picchu, Sedona, Arizona. Bring it on. Somebody's backyard.
There's a really awesome couple of stone chambers in Vermont you might want to go to, and they're in the middle of nowhere. No one even knows about them. So this is a really exciting thing you all are doing, because it isn't about the gig and the record. It's about the big vision of healing for the planet, which isn't just the humans. It's all of us who live here. We're going to hear a couple of tracks now from KUMARA, and then we'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Samite, Shem, and Sean. We're going to start with a track called I Remember You Here. This is Paradigms at paradigms.life. That's Romanza Andaluza from KUMARA. Before that, we heard I Remember You Here. Doesn't this music just seep into you and transport you? Here's the final part of my conversation with Shem Guibbory, Samite Mulondo, and Sean Harkness, KUMARA. So the record is out. People can listen to it. People can find ways to connect with you and support this vision.
One word, KUMARAmusic.com. That's us.
I've had this fantasy for years of doing a Paradigms music festival with all the artists which would, of course, take months because there have been so many now. But you guys are on the bill.
Sign us up. Where would that be?
I just don't know. Somewhere really, in my fantasy, it's somewhere really big because a lot of people will come and there will be literally weeks worth of people playing music and hundreds of thousands of people coming in and out. What if there were an ongoing music festival on Earth that just never stopped? So here we are. The world there are lots of adjectives we could use. And we all have lots of feelings about it. And we each have to find our way to somehow keep ourselves going through the parts that are really painful and hard and distressing and horrifying even. And everyone who's still alive and keeps going somehow does that in whatever setting they're in. The people who are in Gaza dealing with being bombed out and losing their community and their family, they're dealing with it right now. They wake up and go, how am I going to get through this day? But so do I, and I'm not there being bombed, and so do you. We all have to find our way. And I think what I love about this project is the message so far for me is, well, we're doing that together.
Yeah, we want to contribute to that process. It's working for us individually and collectively, and seems to work for everybody who gives it a listen. So yeah.
I think it also applies to that. I don't put my head deep into the media because it's hard. It pulls me out of that creative center. But I read about this 4-year-old girl who was one of the hostages taken by Hamas, and both her parents were killed. She's now being delivered back into Israel, but who's going to care for her, right? Who's going to help her heal? Who's going to help the Gazan people heal? Who's going to help all the other casualties of aggression?
And it spreads out because even for those of us who aren't physically present there, people have their reactions, and we see how people polarize and take sides, and how they put their identity is so wrapped up in taking sides.
Yeah.
And I'm not even criticizing people for doing that. Everyone's doing what they know how to do to somehow cope with madness. And yet at the same time, I feel like we need to evolve past that.
Exactly.
And the healing has to be, how can anyone, no matter what your ideology, not feel for that 4-year-old? But how can anyone, no matter what your ideology, not feel for the Palestinian 4-year-old who lost, so I saw a thing on social media that a child is lying on the ground and the adult is saying, well, I need to know their ethnicity before I decide whether or not I care about them. And it's like, wait a minute, folks, how do we get past that? That's one of my big questions.
Sure. And then multiply that by Ukraine and the Congo and all over the world at any given moment, So yeah, we're doing something else.
Baruch, are you aware of Samite's background in music as a healing power in war-torn areas?
I'm not.
Well, for years, I'm a founding director of an organization called Musicians for World Harmony. So we bring music to war-torn places. We've worked with former child soldiers, taking the gun away and giving them a guitar. We've worked with women that are raped in the Congo, and bring them a song, and you play a flute for them, and then they say, sit down, we're going to sing for you. These are injured people. So bring the music back, help them sing again. That's been my focus for many years. But most recently, since COVID, it's focused a lot on people dealing with dementia. And it's the most rewarding work I've done in my life, working with people with dementia. It's absolutely what music can do. You should check out a film called Alive Inside.
All right. I will.
There'll be Bobby McFerrin is there and other musicians there talking about the healing power of music. Yes, and
That's
I'm
wonderful.
in that film. Yeah.
Oh, I'll check that out.
One of the tracks on our album that Samite contributed is the title is "I Remember You Here."
Yeah.
And that came from one such inspiration, where
exactly.
I don't remember you here, but I remember you here.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I know a few other musicians who go and play for people experiencing dementia. Just go to the memory care homes and play music on a regular basis, and what they describe happening is so beautiful that people just light up, and sometimes they play songs that they'll remember from their youth, or it. Sometimes not, but
that's what and what I've discovered. I've spent the past 2 years researching this, and every Wednesday I meet with families on Zoom dealing with dementia, and what I've found is not so much about music, but making yourself available for people to even express themselves. Sometimes I go there to play music, but the patient just wants to talk, tell you, they just remembered things from the past. So that whole hour is spent me listening to them, telling me. So, so it's important for us to make ourselves available and be in that space where that person is. And it's not about you, it's about the person in front of you. Yes.
Beautiful.
Baruch, I think you hear that. If you listen to any of the tracks in the album, you hear that profound listening capacity that I believe each of us bring to the group. And it's so on the one hand, you hear whatever the lead voice is, the context is, but if you listen in, you hear everyone else listening.
Yes.
And I believe that each in our own way, it's one of the elements that we bring that makes the group so powerful.
That is something that you just nailed it. We listen to each other when we listen, we dig in deep. It's not selfish. We listen to each other when we play. We listen so much. We connect. We listen even at a higher level. We are like, it's so important.
Well, as you say, you can hear that in the music because there are these moments where it's clear that someone has just said something and the others are listening, and then they're coming in and they're responding. It's not boom, boom, boom. It's, oh, I hear you.
Yes.
Here is this now.
And we don't plan it out. That's happening in real time.
Yes.
Real time. Exactly.
Yes. And to take you back, like when we were choosing which songs we're including on the album, we didn't go back to overdub. We just chose, does this one touch what we want to deliver? Yeah, that's the take. It has the moment, including some mistakes. We left in intentionally because that particular song touched where we wanted to go spiritually. Yeah.
Well, it's a really wonderful project, and it's so much more than just a record for people to listen to, but that is the doorway for folks into this. So again, I want to say thank you three for coming together and sharing yourselves with each other and with us. It's really a gift.
Thank you, Baruch.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a place to talk about it.
Yeah, and you can see we have some of Samite's video and some video with Sean creating a song all right at the beginning on our website, KUMARAmusic.com. They're there on the homepage. The album's available, all sorts of stuff.
Thank you, guys. What a treat. What a wonderful way to start my day. And thank you for the music just for me personally today. Really.
Right on. I hope we get to meet in person soon.
Like I said, we have a spare room.
Thank you.
Careful your offer.
Thank you.
Okay.
KUMARA, I love what the word means, that you made this word. Spirit, Mother, Father, Sean Harkness, Samite Mulondo, Shem Guibbory, thank you so much for talking with me on Paradigms and sharing this wonderful music and your vision of playing music in all these amazing places on the planet. Folks, I'm sure you want to hear the rest of this album. Go to KUMARAmusic.com, and there are links there so you can listen to the whole thing. And there's a bunch of other cool stuff there too. You know, Khalil Gibran says, work is love made visible. I think music is love made audible. And this music is so beautiful. And in our quest for a peaceful, more realized humanity, music like this is part of the food, part of the fuel that gets us there. KUMARAmusic.com. I hope you enjoy this episode of Paradigms and that you'll check out the Paradigms website, paradigms.life, where this show is available to listen to, and all the shows going back to 2009. And for folks who've been listening to Paradigms for a while, you know that theme that runs through the whole thing. The music of KUMARA and the intention of KUMARA is in complete alignment with Paradigms. Paradigms is in complete alignment with KUMARA. It really is about love and communion with each other and with all of life. It sounds so woo-woo, you know, when there's terrible things going on in the world and people are being cruel to each other. But I believe that love and communion can motivate and source the peacemaking. All right, I am going to leave you with one more track from KUMARA. It's a long one. I think you're going to really enjoy it. It's called Conversation in C minor. So you really get to hear these guys do their thing with each other in musical conversation. And let's let the word for the week be love. We've been working with peace for a while. Let's go with love. What is it? Is it just a feeling? Is it a thought? Is it actions? How do you invoke it? What does it mean to you? Love. All right. Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. We'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Until then, love and be well. You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.